monster girl slash boy trope in anime and manga is becoming more and more popular. Today I want to discuss this unique genre and how you can create your own in your manga creations. There are three major points to creating a good monster series: the plot, the design, and of course the supernatural. The plot is what guides the story, but in the monster genre, since it revolves around the supernatural and these monster characters, then that supernatural side is what you will need to focus on first. So why are there monster characters in your story and how did they get here? What types of monster characters are common in this world? How does this affect the human characters in this world, if applicable? So first of all, understand your genre and what type of story you really want to create. Different genres can affect the way that this genre shows. For example, some monster stories may be more of a horror or a scarier story. And in those examples, obviously the monster designs would be designed to be more scarier or frightening. In many cases, there are monster girl stories in manga which are more romance or even comedy focused, and in these examples, the designs are very light-hearted and in some cases comical, and it's used to really enhance the designs of these characters. So first of all, when you begin to create this type of manga, consider what type of genre you are working with and how that might affect the way you show your story. Next, write some of the types of monster characters you'd like to include. I recommend doing your research on already existing monster types in stories so you have a better idea of what kinds of monster characters you might want to create. You may have a select type of monster character in your manga, which might be vampire characters or werewolf characters, or you may focus on many different monster type of characters like in Rosario Vampire. You may want to sketch different layouts of your world depending on how complex or detailed that world is, and consider the types of characters that might live in that world. In today's video, I'm designing my own monster OC. This girl used to be an ordinary sea slug, but when she made a wish with a sea witch to become human, the spell went wrong and she only became a half human, half sea slug girl. Sometimes your monster characters may be like this. Maybe they became this monster character through a strange event or even some kind of accidental situation that went wrong, like in Shiyuma's case. Speaking of the world in your story, consider the world and how these monster characters came to be. Maybe these characters were always there, or maybe through a certain incident these characters came to be in your story. It's important to consider the origins of these characters so that it feels natural and meaningful in the world and in the story that you're creating. I think when it comes to this type of genre, it leaves so much opportunity to be unique and have fun with the character designs. So consider the type of monster character that you're creating and what kind of attributes may show on this character's design. I think it's also really important to keep things realistic as well. So for example, if your monster character has certain ears, don't give them the ears and then also give them human ears, for example. So consider with this character what would make sense for their design and create a design that's not only interesting and unique, but also something that makes sense for your story. Shiyuma has small feelers known as serrata on her legs and hands. She has attributes of her sea slug form, but also attributes of a human. When she touches water, she turns back into a full sea slug for a short time before turning back into her humanoid form. I also recommend when creating this type of story that you include a storyline that makes sense and is interesting for your manga. These monster characters need a purpose throughout your story, and that's where the storyline comes in. Give your characters a meaningful goal and a reason to continue towards that goal throughout the story. Give those characters obstacles and events that can help you to also include character development and let your audience know more about these characters. And don't be afraid when you're creating the plot of your story to also have fun and consider unique or sometimes interesting events that may happen surrounding these interesting and unique characters. I also recommend that you give every character their own moment to shine in your story. With so many different, interesting and unique characters, I think it can be very helpful to give each of those characters a moment to shine in your story. Think about something that only these characters can do, being this particular type of monster character. This is why the design is so important to consider. There may be things in your story that only your monster characters are able to do. For example, in an emergency event, maybe there's one character who can fly, so this character is able to carry the others and fly to a certain location really quickly in order to help someone or save the day. So consider with each of your monster characters what types of abilities they have and how you can give those characters their own moment to shine in their story. Moments where they have to use those abilities to help someone or do something important in the story. My character Shiyuma is very eccentric and has a fascination with humans. She loves writing down all of the interesting things humans do. She's a bit socially awkward, but she loves being around people who accept her for who she is, sea slug form and all. Also consider unique traits, hobbies, or goals these characters may have. I really feel like this monster character genre is very character driven. So in a character driven story, it's really important to give your characters unique traits or goals that really help them to stand out. Consider what unique interests or hobbies your characters might have that really give them an interesting purpose within your story. Consider their struggles with being this monster character. It wouldn't always be easy for these characters to be the way they are. Maybe they have certain struggles or difficulties in their daily lives, and you can express this as well in the story. It can help to make your characters more realistic and believable when you show that these characters go through difficult moments as well. Because my character Shiyuma is a half sea slug, she feels out of place with regular people. She knows that people wouldn't accept her if she told them she's a sea slug. When people ask her about her appearance and the feelers on her head, she tells them that she's a cosplayer. There are a few people she can be herself around, but when she finds those people, it makes her very happy. Now also, let's not forget about the protagonist. Give your protagonist a place in this and consider how your protagonist drives the story. In many cases in the monster character genre, the protagonist is usually a human character, but this doesn't always have to be the case. Consider who your protagonist is and what kind of goal they have in the story that helps keep the story moving forward. Throughout the story as well, there should be a reason why this character ends up meeting these different monster characters, because usually in this genre, it means the character is continuing in the goals, but also meeting lots of unique characters and needing those characters' help in order to achieve those goals. So give your protagonist a reason to come across these different characters. Maybe he's looking for them for some reason. Maybe they have a certain item that will help them to help others or even save the world. Think about why they need to come in contact with these characters and maybe even how these characters can work together to fulfill the main goals in the story. This brings me to my next tip, which is force these characters to work together. It can make a really interesting storyline when you put all these unique characters together and force them to work together for the greater good of the story. These characters all have very different abilities, but that's why they need to work together and rely on each other. So create a goal that all the characters would all want to strive towards. For example, maybe defeating a really bad villain in the story that's going to affect all of them in a negative way. So maybe all these characters need to band together or use their abilities to figure things out or to save the day in some way. Maybe there are times in your story where these characters disagree, but at the end of the day, they may realize that by working together, they can achieve many amazing things. It was so much fun to share this character's design with you in today's video. Tell me about the monster characters and the monster story that you're creating, because I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. If you're new to my channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I upload new videos every week all about writing, and I'd love to have you join me on the channel. Thanks again for watching today's video. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!